The recent episode of The Boys pissed me off. Because you're telling me you could have done an episode that good this entire time, but just haven't? What the fuck? What's rockin' about rock and rollers? Like the intro said, and the title of this video also says, we're going to be talking about the recent episode of The Boys, which is episode 6 of season 5. And like the intro said, finally something happened. Like, I'm just going to get cut to the chase. You could have done an episode this good the entire time? Like, for one, something actually happened. Second, the plot moved along. Third, all the characters were somewhat likable. 4, there was no, like, political Trump allegory. Like, the whole time, you could have done this. You just chosen not to. If every episode, granted, the last episode of season 5, it's a low bar, I know, but still, if the whole rest of this previous season was like this, it'd be good. Like, it'd be like, oh my god, like, congrats. And even better, if the whole rest of this series was like this. I know season 1 gets a pass. Season 1 was good. Parts of 2 and 3 were good. 4, no. But if the whole series was just like this episode, this would be one of the greatest shows ever. I'm kind of shocked. But no, they had to throw in, oh, Orange Man bad. Like, we could have had greatness. And this episode proves it. Alright, let's just kind of brief recap. A lot happened. I'll try to recap it. I just finished watching it like, an hour and a half ago. This is Wednesday morning that we're recording this. I'm recording this, so this could come out later tonight, early Thursday, depending on how the editing works, but let's see what happens. So, the one thing that comes to mind, I'll just get out of the way, is the Deep kills Noir, so that's one member of the Seven Down. So, as you saw in the last episode, the Deep killed the guy that Noir, was trying to going to theater show business with. And in this episode, there was some, like, oil, like, it was an allegory for, like, the pipeline, like the, was it Keystone? Was that the name of it? Well, the pipeline that they wanted to admit that Biden or whatever shut down. And it was an allegory for that, obviously, and we find out that it was Noir that was ordered to, punch a hole in the pipeline. It polluted the water, killed a whole bunch of fish, and the Deep found out. Well, the Deep was going to stop it, but he was told to, like, make a PSA, like, oh, this is good, the fish are fine, pipelines are good, blah, blah, whatever. And the fish die. Deep finds out, oh, it was Noir, and he strangles him and puts like a little knife through his neck, and kind of freaks out, like, oh my god, what have I done? So that's one member down of 7. So that's gonna be interesting to see what happens when everyone else finds out that Deep did that. Let's see what else. Bombsite. That's kind of, I guess we'll just get to the big one. That was So Bombsite makes his, I guess, debut. So previous episodes, the filler episodes, which again pissed me off because we could have had this, but anyway. So they find out that there was this Asian girl that Bombsite, had a thing with in the past, and she's a soup who's older now in a retirement home, and they thought, oh, so the boys find out, oh, hey, let's get her, let's kidnap her to bring Bombsite to us so he can give us the V1, we can destroy it, blah, blah, whatever. So they break in the retirement home, they get her, there was a little fight with other soups, but eventually they get her, bring her to this warehouse, and there's a whole thing of like, oh, like, the question is like, okay, will Bombsite come? And the thing is like, oh, well, I think they told Frenchie, like, if Kimiko was tied up, would you come? And obviously, yes. So, there's that. Next up was, before I get to actual Bombsite, while this is happening, Sister Sage decides to, I guess, take the next step in her plan to betray Homelander, and she teams up with, Butcher and Emma and the boys and all that to help. She helps kidnap Goldie, and she's there in the warehouse as well, and her and MM have a little chat about how like, she's gonna hide in her bunker, and he's not afraid to die, and kind of like, not a reader, not a second, but like a continuation of his chat he had with Butcher, almost said Booker, with Butcher a few episodes ago. And so basically that, Bombsite shows up, he crashes, kind of like, I don't know what his powers is, like he makes bombs, I think I read, like out of material, so he crashes into the ceiling, which is kind of a cool effect. He sees Goldie, and there's a little back and forth, like Butcher holds a gun to her head, like, give us the V1, or she gets it, oh, I don't want to give it to you. So Bombsite's whole thing was like, he wanted to give Goldie the V1 so she can be immortal, live forever, and be with him, but she didn't want to take it because she didn't want to live forever. That's kind of like the whole conundrum he's in, but he's still pining for her. Oh, maybe like the reason he has a V1 is he's like, oh, maybe one day she'll change her mind, or I'll find someone else who will be with me, and that's the whole reason he has it. And so he has a fight with the boys, and which is actually a pretty good fight. He actually, like, Butcher has like the tentacle move and he just throws him, which was kind of interesting. Like you see Frenchie go like, oh my god, he threw Butcher, like whoa. And then Soldier Boy shows up because Soldier Boy and Bombsite obviously were teammates before, which we're gonna see in that whole Vought Rising prequel show, which I'm kind of more interested in now, just to see their dynamic. About how there's an amazing line where Bombsite's like, oh, you were always the pretty boy, and Soldier Boy, what was the line? He was like, the queen sat on this face. He's a national treasure. Oh, it's so good.
You know how long I've wanted to smash in that pretty face?
Buddy, the queen sat on this face. It's a national fucking treasure.
So the whole reason Soldier Boy is there, let's go back a little bit, was Soldier Boy and Homelander are obviously looking for the V1, and they go to this room, and this is like somewhere else. It's like this apartment-looking building, and they find a laptop on, and Soldier was like, oh, there's nothing here. Homelander opens the laptop, and it's a video, and at first, I didn't know what the video was, because they don't show it. They just play like the sound of it, and you just see Homelander and Soldier Boy reacting to it, and it's, you could tell it's a sex tape, because it was like moaning and stuff, but it turns out that it was actually Homelander and Stormfront, or Clara, is how they referred to her as, having sex, and you see Soldier Boy's reaction, like, oh, what? And you see Homelander's dressed like, oh, let's not look at this. Ooh, yeah. Which is the scene where, in the previous video I did about Soldier Boy, in the trailer for this episode, where Soldier Boy punches Homelander. I thought it was about Firecracker, like he finds out Homelander killed Firecracker, but no, it's the video, and Homelander reveals that, like, because obviously that Stormfront, she was like an amputee, all burned up, so I'm guessing it's Homelander having sex with that version. I'm guessing that's what the video was. I don't know. They didn't show it, like I said, but that's just my guess. So Soldier Boy sees that and kind of is freaked out. Like, well, what are you, like, what kind of freak are you? And Homelander says, like, oh, like, actually kind of emotional. Like, oh, obviously she was the only thing I loved. Like, I can understand her, that type of thing. And that's when Soldier Boy, clocks him. And it's funny because, like, you see Soldier Boy's lip quiver just very briefly. So obviously it did affect him, because he's like, no, I loved her more. So that was actually kind of just a little subtle acting, which is very nice. So, and eventually, Soldier Boy goes off on his thing. Homelander finds this one guy. I don't know if we've seen him before. It's been a long time since I've seen the last season, but it's this, like, right here, this, what was his character's name? I don't know if I have his name, but this, like, gray-haired Silver Fox, I guess you can call him, guy, who's working at a movie theater, who, like, used to be in the Vought, he used to work for Vought, and so basically, Homelander finds, so this guy, so he's working at a movie theater now, and Homeland, in the middle of the episode, Homeland comes in, kills, like, his employee, says, like, I want to talk to you alone. And it leads to this great scene, because, like, this guy is, like, he's basically old, he's seen a lot, he's done, and he's not scared of Homelander. He's like, what are you gonna do, kill me? Like, ooh, big deal. Like, and because Homelander's always looking for the V1, this guy might know where it is, so this guy actually has a very heart-to-heart conversation with Homelander about, hey, like, everyone has their time in the sun, everyone thinks, they're gonna be the one, the one to be remembered, and we all get shoved out. It happened to all the soups before you, it's gonna happen to you, it happened to me, it's just how life goes on. And you can see that Homelander's, like, kind of affected by the conversation. He's sitting there kind of, like, taking in, like, whoa, this guy's actually spitting facts, kind of. And in that conversation, the guy reveals, oh, like, Bombsite and Goldie, elderly soups have like a life alert type, like a Vought alert, and they call it, like, necklace that you can track. So obviously, which eventually leads to Homelander tracking down Soldier Boy, and the boys with the Bombsite fight, which I'll get into a bit. But the thing is, like, at the end of the conversation, the guy is like, oh, you're gonna kill me now? Like, go ahead, I'm ready. And Homelander lets him, like, no, you can leave, go ahead. So one is like Homelander let the guy live, which I think was pretty cool, and you can even see the guy's face was like, really, like, you let me live, like, okay, like, okay, all right, I guess, like, okay. So that was pretty cool. And then we'll get to, I guess, the final big thing that happened is, like I said, Soldier Boy shows up at the Bombsite fight with the boys. he fights him and Bomb have a reunion. They fight, which it was really weird, like because obviously Soldier Boy's real name is Ben. I didn't know that actually. I guess they might have mentioned it before, but I forgot. So hearing Bombsite say Ben, it was just kind of like, oh, like isn't that Soldier Boy? Oh, it's the same guy. Okay, it's just I'm not used to hearing his real name. So they have a fight, and their fight the fight between the boys and Bombsite were just better. The Soldier Boy fight with Bombsite was kind of lackluster in my opinion. They basically just swing and dodge, and Bombsite has this line of like, I've always wanted to punch his pretty face, now I get a chance, and that happens. And their fight, Bombsite takes off, Soldier Boy grabs onto him, they fall in the field, and Soldier Boy has a line of like, I hate flying, and he Bombsite's on the ground kind of like this. Soldier Boy's behind him, like his hands on his neck, so to speak. He's like, I've always wanted to snap this neck, and he's like, wait, Ben, wait, and Soldier Boy lets him go. And it actually leads to like a very touching scene between like old friends / frenemies, I guess rivals, about how like they're, because if you think about it, the two of them are like the last of like their own kind, so to speak. They're the last of like the old guard, the old generation of Vought before this whole social media, real current world stuff. They're the last two, or at least some of the last two. So in a way, like it's like one of Soldier Boy's like friends, I guess you can call him, which it was very, very touching scene, I thought. Anyway, some people might think differently. I thought it was kind of touching. So the scene basically is, it's Soldier Boy. He wants to get the V1. Bombsite obviously has it, and Bombsite goes on like, oh, like it was always you. You were always like the number one, the pretty boy. Everyone loved you. Oh, Soldier Boy. Oh yes. Nobody cared about the rest of us, and even Clara. And Soldier Boy's like, no, well, she never loved me. I couldn't be, what she wanted. Which I think we might look with her reveal in season 2. I think we know probably what that would be. If I could be wrong, but. And the conversation eventually leads to Soldier Boy telling him, hey, like, I can take your powers away. Not because I'm malicious intent, but I can take him away, and I can make you mortal, and you can live out your life with Goldie and actually live a normal life, so to speak. So Bombsite gives him the V1. Soldier Boy takes away his power, and there's a cool scene that refers to in the fight with the boys when Bombsite, where like they shoot him and nothing happens because he was immortal. So when Soldier Boy takes his power away, he's bleeding. He's like, oh, this is the first time I've had blood. Oh, this is interesting. So that's pretty nice. And then Homelander shows up, and Bombsite runs away. And so Soldier Boy's holding the V, and Homelander's looking at him. And there's this kind of like a little tense standoff just very briefly. And eventually, Soldier Boy says something like, hey, Clara, I couldn't love her. She didn't love me. You were better. So he's basically telling him, Homelander, he's better. Like, hey, we've been waiting for you. Blah blah whatever. So he gives Homelander the V1. Homelander like lasers his skin and injects it, and then we get that shot, which has been up here with Homelander shooting up in the sky. And while all this is happening, the boys and Sister Sage are like in the woods, off to the side watching, and they're like, oh my god. And Sister Sage was like, oh, I did not plan for Soldier Boy to give him the V1. This is not part of the plan. What's going on? So that's the episode ends. So Homelander now has the V1 officially. He's immortal, or so we think. It could, maybe there's a side effect next episode we don't know about. But that episode is over. That's the ending. And like I said, that's basically it. Like I said in the beginning, the main thing is you could have done this the whole time. Like, that's the thing that kind of pisses me off most of this episode. This quality of writing, without all the allegory to modern day politics, you could have had like this interesting of a show or season, or I guess a show in general, the whole time. You just chose not to, and that's just the biggest thing that just irritated me. I could be wrong. Maybe most people like this season. I don't know. It seems my timeline at X is tearing it apart every week, except this week. This week's like the one episode people are like, oh, this is actually pretty good. So it's episode 6. We got 2 more. All I'm going to say is there's going to be a lot of shit that happens in the last 2. They're going to ramp things up. They already ramped things up enough for this episode. I forgot like some things that happened, but I covered the big stuff in this video. So with 2 episodes left, what do you guys think is going to happen? Comment below. Let me know. Please like and subscribe, and I guess I'll do another video on episodes 7 and 8 when they come out.